Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday. Good evening, and welcome back to Elaborations with Skellington Grin. I am Ava, your Gothic Witch Big Sis, here to take you down another journey into the marvelous, mystical, and occasionally messy realm of spirituality, where science peeks through the candle smoke, intuition gets a microphone, and the cosmos is probably laughing with us, not at us. Today, we are going to be talking about everyday divination, going beyond the tarot to explore the signs, synchronicities, and what really counts as divination, aside from just thinking about it in the context of a crystal ball or a tarot deck. Because let's be honest, not every message from the universe arrives to us through a 78-card deck or even a 10-card reading. Sometimes the message comes in a song lyric, a repeating number, or that one animal that we cannot stop seeing, such as a crow that keeps following us to the grocery store. Hi, buddy, we see you. So today I invite you to get comfy and cozy as we talk about the bigger picture of divination, how it shows up in daily life, how to tell when something is a sign versus a coincidence, and how to actually use that awareness without falling into the rabbit hole of everything is a sign. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. So what is divination really? People often think that divination means predicting the future. And we have this idea due to media that it is this elaborate thing where someone is dressed up and they have so many rings on their fingers and they're flipping through cards all the time. And it's this big elaborate thing. But that is just like saying that music means the radio. And we know, especially in 2025, we can listen to music through multiple different mediums, such as still using the beauty of a CD, or tuning into the radio if we do wish, or tuning into different streaming platforms such as Pandora, Spotify, and Apple Music. But just like with radio and music, divination is really about communication. And divination is the dialogue between your conscious mind, your intuition, and whatever higher forces or archetypal energies that you work with. Tarot, pendulums, runes, crystal balls, oracle cards. These are just the tools that aid in that communication. But the art itself is ancient, expansive, and honestly a little punk rock in how it challenges our linear way of thinking. And here is another fact. The truth doesn't just speak English. It speaks multiple languages, but it also speaks most directly in patterns, metaphors, vibrations, frequencies, and timing. So every time you feel that nudge, or you have that moment where something felt weirdly specific, you might just be catching a little signal from the cosmic radio station. And sometimes that radio station is static. And sometimes we notice things like flickering light bulbs, but not every light bulb is a spirit trying to say hi. Sometimes it just means that our wiring needs an update. And sometimes the intuitive nudge that we might be feeling and the way that it might be translated in our external focus is a reminder that we need balance in our lives. Let's move on to signs, synchronicities, and the way in which we can notice everyday magic. First, let's talk about signs and synchronicities. Psychologist Carl Jung defined synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence, when two or more events connect in a way that feels significant, but that has no obvious causal link. It's more of a correlation than it is a causation. But let's say one example of this is that you are thinking about changing jobs, and maybe you're scrolling through social media and a random stranger on TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube says, "You deserve to thrive, not survive." And you may start thinking to yourself, okay, universe, calm down. I get it. But that little tingle, that little nudge, that spark of recognition, that video that pops up in your suggested watch list. That is your intuition lighting up. And not always is it going to be, but it very much is significant. But here is the key. A sign, a video, anything that you hear becomes meaningful because you assign meaning to it. The universe might drop the breadcrumbs, but you are the one who gets to decide which ones lead home. And in my own life, I have had entire weeks where tarot wasn't really giving me much clarity, no matter how many readings I did on myself. But my dreams were loud. Often, I have dreams when I need to do something significant in my life. And people in my life will show up in these dreams. And we may be arguing, or we may be feeling a certain way in the dreams, and something between me and a significant person in my life happens in a dream. Sometimes these dreams have alluded to me needing to step away from or completely cut ties with other people in my life that have become unhealthy or toxic for me. And other dreams have been things such as date ideas that I wind up running by my boyfriend. I know, really weird extremes, but they happen. And going back to the thing about the date ideas, I've even recently found myself having dreams that will play out in the real world, and I feel like I'm having deja vu. I've expressed this to my partner, Eric. Shout out to my baby. I love you so much, and I couldn't do this podcast without your support. But I have had so many dreams lately that have taken place in our life, and I've had deja vu. For example, we did a home date night one time, and everything from the food that I cooked to the movie that we watched came up in a dream for me before it even happened. And we were sitting there, and I said, I feel like I'm having deja vu. And he said, you too? Because I feel like I have deja vu with you all the time. And it was just this moment that really connected us. And when I finally sat down with all of this, I realized that I was being nudged to see beyond appearances, to trust my insight even when things didn't make immediate sense, because that is divination too. So whether it is animals, numbers, phrases, songs, or even dreams, if something keeps showing up and making your intuition go, oh, that's something, don't dismiss it. Now let's talk about a couple of everyday divination practices. Divination doesn't always require a sacred space, lit incense or candles, and velvet cloths, though I do love me some velvet. Sometimes the most powerful readings happen in the chaos of daily life. And here are a few ways to practice everyday divination, even if you don't have tarot or oracle cards at your disposal. Number 1, morning sign check. Before reaching to check your phone, pause and notice. What are some sounds, colors, or phrases that cross your awareness first thing as soon as you wake up? Sometimes that first input of the day carries a subtle but meaningful message. Number 2, symbol journaling. Whether you have a journal or you might want to start a journal just for this, keep a signs and synchronicities section in your journal. Write down any repeating symbols, numbers, dreams, or interactions that you may have throughout the week and throughout the month and throughout the rest of the year. Over time, you'll start seeing your personal language of signs, and you may even start noticing some patterns that might be cluing you into noticing things a little bit differently and taking some actionable steps towards making changes in your life. Number 3, intuitive debriefs. At the end of the day, stop and ask yourself, where did I feel guided today? What coincidences stood out? Were there some things that I noticed multiple times that might have been giving me a subtle nudge? This helps to keep your intuitive muscles flexed without over-analyzing everything that happens in your day unless it feels very significant. Number 4, allow yourself to have a science meets spirit moment. Think of daily divination like tuning your brain's reticular activating system, that part of the mind that filters what's important. When you assign meaning to signs and synchronicities, you're programming your awareness to spot alignment more easily. So yes, you are doing neuroscience and magic at the same time, because science and spirituality always go hand in hand. And lastly, let's talk about what counts as divination and what doesn't. The tricky part is understanding where to draw the line. If your latte foam looks like a heart, is that a sign of love coming your way? Or is it just milk and the barista doing their thing? The difference lies in the intention and the context and what actually happens. Does it happen when you're just sitting there letting the latte sit and it just turns into this foam heart by itself? Or did you actually get that latte foam art? If you are actively seeking guidance and something strikes your intuition with resonance, that is divination. But if you're just trying to justify texting your ex because you saw 2:22 on the clock, that's denial with angel numbers. We've all been there, including myself, so there is no judgment. But I want you to stop and pause. When you see those numbers, doesn't necessarily mean that you're being nudged in the way that you think you are. Divination isn't about outsourcing your decisions to the universe. It's about co-creating awareness with it. The universe will hand you the metaphors, but you get to choose the meaning. So the next time you catch a pattern forming, instead of saying, this must mean X thing, ask, what might this be reflecting in me right now? Because that shift changes everything. And as we close out, I want to leave you with this. Everyday divination reminds us that life itself is an oracle. Every sound, symbol, and coincidence can become a mirror, showing us not just what is coming, but who we are becoming. And you don't need permission to read the signs of your own life, because at the end of the day, you are the channel and the channeler. You are the message and the messenger. And honestly, you're doing amazing. That is all for today's episode of Elaborations with Skellington Grin. And as always, thank you for tuning in and allowing me to be a part of your divine chaos today and sitting with me this evening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might appreciate a little mystical realism in their own feed. And tag me on Instagram so that I can see what synchronicities you spot this week. You can connect with all things Skellington Grin by visiting the Linktree link in the episode description. This has been another enlightening episode of Elaborations with Skellington Grin, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye!